In this video, we'll teach you how to set up the Minimate and how to use the LV Centramate Holder with the Minimate system. Start by making sure you have all the parts to properly set up your Minimate system. To begin assembly, place the pump head onto the peristaltic pump and tighten the screws. Align the tray in front of the pump, and then insert the stir plate into the tray. Slide the reservoir underneath the metal holder and make sure the higher reservoir port is facing forward. For the lower reservoir port, verify the fitting is above the support bar. Initial assembly will require setting up all the proper tubing. Start by cutting the far-end tubing to the lengths shown. And secure the lure connectors with the tubing clamp. Three-way adapter valves will be used initially on the reservoir and then with the LV Centramate holder, so get used to how the valve on top works to direct the flow properly. The long tubing will go from the reservoir through the pump head to the pressure gauge. The shorter tubing will go from the Minimate cassette back to the reservoir, and the clear piece of tubing will go to a vessel to collect the permeate. Start by connecting a three-way valve to both the inlet and outlet of the reservoir. Take the long piece of tubing and attach it to the outlet valve on the reservoir, then attach the other end of the tubing to the pressure gauge. And guide the tubing into the pump head. Make sure the tubing is aligned correctly before engaging the pump head, and go to each side of the pump head and press down on the teeth to help keep the tubing in place. Attach the lure coupler to the other side of the pressure gauge, and then attach a feed retentate port of the Minimate cassette to the pressure gauge. With the cassette attached, use the smaller tubing to connect the retentate port back to the reservoir. And place a clamp onto the retentate tubing, but don't fully close. Complete the initial tubing installation by attaching the long, clear tubing to the filtrate port. And finally, place the tubing into a flask, and your Minimate system is now ready to run. The LV Centramate holder can also be used with the Minimate system. You will need more tubing along with another pressure gauge. Start by attaching a tube from the Minimate pressure gauge to the LV Centramate feed retentate inlet. Finish the retentate loop by connecting a second pressure gauge to the other retentate port, and connect it to the reservoir with a short piece of far-med tubing. On the opposite side of the holder, attach a three-way valve to the filtrate outlet, then connect another piece of tubing from the T to the opposite port on the same side. Finally, connect another piece of tubing from the valve and place the tubing into a waste container. To install a cartridge into the LV Centramate, start by removing all the screws and washers, then remove the top of the holder. Line up a silicone gasket and put it in place. Then, insert the cartridge, followed by the second gasket. And place the top of the holder back on the LV Centramate, along with the washers and nuts. With the nuts fingered tight, use the torque wrench to tighten all of the nuts. Your LV Centramate can now be run.